This video is sponsored by Unusual Horror. To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's happening? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for the German Chainsaw Massacre. Written and directed by Christoph Schlingenseff, the German Chainsaw Massacre stars all of these lot. The film depicts events around the German reunification of 1990 and focuses on a group of East Germans who cross the border to visit West Germany and get slaughtered by a psychopathic West German cannibal family with chainsaws who want to turn them into sausages. German killers wanting to turn their victims into sausages is pretty funny. What's going on, bags? It's that time again to delve into another low-budget splatter movie, and the only thing I know about this one is it's a German ripoff of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At least I thought things were that simple before I saw it, but we'll get to that later. Oh, and before I forget, Gun Media, I want a refund on that terrible Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. What a pile of dog vomit that was. And $15 for a skin. What are you gonna do for an encore? My mum. Embarrassing. According to Wikipedia, Christoph wrote this movie after getting his hands on bootlegs of Texas Chainsaw Parts 1 and 2, and after thoroughly enjoying them, decided to remake it, sort of, but with a much more German flavour. And a story about a family of cannibals could be set anywhere in the world, because as we know, we all bleed red and all our flesh tastes exquisite. This is going to be fun. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. As long-time viewers of the channel know, I'm poor as f*** and only barely make enough money to pay my rent. And that's not from YouTube, by the way. I make all from YouTube. That's solely from the Patreon. Why don't I have a normal job, you ask? In a normal job, less fun to be around. No, it's only with the support of the patrons that I'm able to keep a roof over my head and keep this channel going, and for that, I'm forever thankful. If you like the content and want to support the channel as well as getting access to the uncut versions of these videos and the Discord, then consider donating $2 a month. And if you haven't got the $2 a month, then please just click subscribe. I'd love to hit 20k by the end of this year, and I'm going to be releasing double the amount of videos on the Patreon as we lead up to the big review of all the Camp Blood series. Also, if you want to stay up to date with everything that I'm doing, go to instagram.com/Jonjo Lyons Reviews. And if you want to see some of the worst jokes you will ever experience, then go to twitter.com/Jonjo Lyons 96. It's not 96 because that's my birth year, that's 88. It's 96 because scream. Oh, and also I haven't mentioned this in ages, but when we hit $1,000 a month, I'm going to let the patrons decide what tattoo I get. It could be literally anything they want, and some of the suggestions have been awful. But anyway, I'm in the mood to be utterly confused by a film that seems familiar in a lot of ways, but is also politically alienating, thus making it less accessible to a general audience, but also more enjoyable in its mystery, making me think maybe now is the time to look further into Germany's history apart from the bit we all know. Get ready to meet the worst boyfriend in the world, and that's coming from me! This is the German Chainsaw Massacre. The movie begins at the reunification festivities, Berlin, October 3rd, 1990, as the people celebrate the reunification of East and West Germany. This fella, who I'm assuming is the German, don't say Führer, don't say Führer, don't say Führer, Prime Minister, delivers a speech, and then the crowd sing the German national anthem. Cut to this woman in a bit of a state when we're told it happened on October 3rd, then to this couple driving and having a little sing-song. We're next told since the opening of the borders on November 9th, 1989, hundreds of thousands of GDR citizens have left their country. GDR citizens meaning the German Democratic Republic of East Germany, which, yes, I had to Google. If you already feel like you're learning too much from this video, I just want to say I apologize and your mum is a Today, many of them live unrecognized among us. 4% never arrived. I always arrive. On time and by the bucketful. Splish splosh. We see the couple once again, then get our opening credits and title card before cutting to Leipzig, October 3rd, 1990. Cut to a TV playing a parade, and then to this fella entering the room with some interesting dialogue.
Stell dir vor, ich krieg den Job. Der Westchef zahlt 3 Mark die Stunde. bin geil.
Well, that took a turn, didn't it? The person they were talking to, Clara, rises into frame as we cut to the fella talking about his job and going for a piss directly into the bath. Clara steps into frame once again and was still unable to see her face behind that glorious head of 80s hair. The man tells Clara to honk his horn, then moves to the next room and asks for help with his shoes. Before hearing a dog bark, then looking down to find his pet's insides on the outside. Sorry, Lel, hopefully the style makes up for the past tense pooch, which is also what I call my ex-wife, because she was a dog, and now she's dead. Clara then draws for the butcher's knife and attacks, swinging the blade down on her partner who struggles for a moment before getting their throat opened up. Clara vomits, then pulls off the wig, showing us her face for the first time, and yeah. Si continue and den munj. Cut to Clara driving and then to the strangely named #1 band in the German pop charts. They stop Clara at the border and demand to see her ID, noticing the blood on her neck.
Nagellack.
Sie hat Nagellack am Hals.
Such a beautiful language. The guards continue to question Clara when one of them supplies a floor mirror so the other can apply lipstick when the murderer says she's had enough, reminding them that the times have changed. This one then starts to repeatedly scream, "We are the people," as Clara finally drives away.
Ich bin der Letzte. Kommandant!
Cut to whatever the is going on here and then to a welcome to Germany sign as we pan over to see Clara has pulled up at a gas station. She steps out of the phone booth as these lights turn off and she enters the building. We're only a little ways in, but the filmmaker is showing such a flair for that style while also adding in more experimental elements like the off-kilter comedic parts that you might see in Texas Chainsaw Part 2. We'll talk more about this later, but I am thoroughly enjoying this. Clara spots a TV playing the celebration we saw at the start of the scene when she's approached by the friendly attendant. She asks to use his phone, which he gives her, then offers her some bratwurst to eat. Hey, that gives me an idea. If Red Letter Media wanted to get into the food business for some reason, they could make German-style sausages with flavors inspired by horror movies and call it Best of the Worst. That's $1 billion idea. He makes a point of saying it's real skin, but Clara declines, instead focusing on her call, which is answered by someone named Arta. Jesus f***ing Christ, Mum! I didn't know you were in this movie. Cut to Clara back on the road when she passes this interesting fella. He growls through his gritted teeth to just wait a little longer before sticking out his tongue when we cut to Clara taking a little nap. She then wakes up to see Pee Wee Herman approaching. R.I.P. big fella. Actually, this is Arta, who Clara hugs as the two lovebirds are reunited. Arta asks Clara if she loves him, then after being momentarily disturbed by a passing car, tells her how he's prepared something for them both. Oh, that's lovely. What could it be? A delicious meal? A romantic weekend away?
Lass uns doch reden!
Ja, später. Wir reden später.
Ah, I see. You want to rail me outside on a bunch of filthy mattresses. This is prom night all over again. Clara isn't up for this, however, and fights him off before eventually calming the man down. He says he thought everything was over as she reassures him, saying they have so much time, but Arta again freaks out and attacks her, screaming that he loves her and knows they belong together. This is all being watched by the hitchhiker from earlier, who flashes a creepy smile as Arta continues to assault Clara. That's when we cut back to the stylized editing as the hitchhiker comes to the rescue, bashing Arta's head right the f*** in with a rock. Clara tries to stop him but is unable to, then sees the car from earlier and tries to flag them down. She screams for help, but the female occupant isn't interested in stopping, urging the driver to continue on. Clara says they must do something, but they drive off anyway, leading to a moment that I really quite like. Clara then grabs the butcher's knife from the car and the two have a short standoff, ending with the hitchhiker grabbing the blade and getting cut. He hilariously calls Clara crazy, then storms off, briefly turning back for one last dig. Clara then runs to check on Arthur, who declares he is a man while sporting what I assume is a head full of porridge. She tells him to stay there while she goes to get some help, and we cut to her speeding away. Not to nitpick, but surely you could just bang him in the car and take him to the nearest hospital, no? How you gonna leave him in Rape Alley? By the time you get back, that hitchhiker's gonna be using the hole in his head as a fleshlight. Cut to this motel sign and then to CCTV footage of two men in a slaughterhouse of sorts. They discuss whether or not to put the brains in the soup when it goes static, and then shows us a woman being chased around a room and berated for being a statsy pig. Cut back to Clara pulling up to the motel. She calls out and is approached by the woman from the car, Bridget, and asks why she didn't help before, with Bridget replying she has to register.
Was meinen Sie, was hier los ist seit der Grenzöffnung? Es ist das wahre Irrenhaus! Ich will telefonieren!
Tragen Sie sich ein! Haben Sie Telefon?
I have a good feeling about this lady. This woman then appears as Clara asks to use the phone, but is again told to register. The mystery woman is introduced as Margaret as she welcomes Clara and comforts her. Bridget tells her what happened to Arthur, and Margaret welcomes Clara to freedom. Bridget continues to go on about registering when Margaret asks Clara about a car. Clara again pleads for help, but is ignored when we cut to this fella Alfred telling his father they have another visitor.
Wer denn? Vater, ein Mädchen. Ein hübsches oder hässliches? Vater, ein sehr hübsches Mädchen. Schlachten, schlachten! Vater, Vater, hier kann ich dir nicht folgen.
Bridget knocks on Alfred's door, which he answers, telling her that father is asleep. Yeah, all the way to sleep. The skeleton, any? You can't get much more asleep than that. They enter the slaughterhouse section of the motel as Alfred explains father wants to sleep and must be left alone, as around them we see blood, body parts, and at least one whole fella still together. He starts ordering her to get the pot and move it when in enters the driver of the car, Dietrich. Bridget then tells him the girl is here, which he says can be for Margaret. Bridget disagrees, saying she could be for the whole family, when Alfred gets them back to work, chucking this fella in a big old bath of blood.
Achtung! 1, 2, 3! Stuhl weg!
The phone then rings and it's Margaret, who Bridget f***ed off. Alfred asks what's up, and Bridget says Margaret wants the boy out of the forest, but she's sick of doing stuff for her. In response, Alfred says he hears father and rushes off as the siblings follow. He tells them he must speak with him alone, shutting the door behind him, making it clear that he's the only one in the house that knows his father doesn't have any skin anymore.
Ich hab mit Dietrich und Brigitte geredet. Ach, Dietrich und Brigitte, warum gibst du dich mit diesen Schmarotzern ab?
To be fair, if you actually believe that's your father speaking, then you might be a dumb. Alfred pretends father is moaning about the siblings not producing enough sausage, saying he's the only one he can trust. He gives Papa a kiss, then tells the others to help Margaret as we cut to see what she's up to.
Clara heißen Sie. Oh, Clara, jetzt wird alles gut.
Grab a cock! Margaret tells Clara they're gonna go get Arthur and makes her drink a mysterious red liquid, telling her it'll make her feel better. Things then get intense. I've never been in this situation before, so I don't want to judge, but I really don't think Clara's reacting the way she should be right now. Margaret then says she's going to shower Clara, rubbing green goo all over her and just having the best time.
Und den Bauch. Das Höchste der Frau.
Cut to the siblings pulling up outside and calling out for Margaret, as inside she rubs herself all over Clara and barks like a dog. She then leaves Clara passed out and joins the family, bickering with her sister as they drive away. Cut to Clara having a dream about the family surrounding her and chanting about the fall of the Berlin Wall, and then to the family looking for Arthur. And this. And I thought Margaret was a lesbian. For the YouTube viewers, she's actually mouth-ing herself with guts on the same filthy mattresses that we saw Arthur on earlier, but now he's nowhere to be found. Where is that little rascal? Margaret tells the others Arthur is dead, and the sisters again squabble when we cut to them back in the car having another sing-song. Cut cut to these GDR citizens on their way west. They're chatting away when the family drives up behind them, acting like the unhinged arseholes they so clearly are. They get side by side and have a chant off with the GDR citizens shouting for unification and the nutters promoting pluralism. They try to pull away, but the family give chase, running them off the road. The woman gets out and tries to make nice, but her words fall on deaf ears as they size her up for butchering. Alfred then puts the cleaver to her neck, telling her this is a free market as her partner is dragged out of the car. They pop this mask on the fella's head, then Alfred asks Margit for the stick. You know, I found the weirdness charming at first, but now these are really starting to annoy me. Cut to Kara escaping the motel with a load of unexplained on her face. She's stumbled upon by the hitchhiker, who calls her an angel and gives her kisses before taking her to see something. Wait, hold on a minute. What the f is going on here? This is the bloke that bashed Arta's head in, and now Clara seems to be having a good time with him. Has she really lost her mind after experiencing which is honestly pretty minimal trauma? I've been through worse than her literally today, and I'm perfectly well adjusted. They kiss again as we cut to Deirdre chasing the East German woman with a chainsaw. She begs for him to stop, but instead Deirdre chases her down and gives her the chop. What the f is that coming out of her? Is that hot dogs? What the f is going on? Back with the others, Margit gives the man the same treatment, chopping his head off. Cut to Clara and the hitchhiker having what I assume is a post-sex cigarette. The hitcher then suddenly grabs Clara by the neck and screams violence, then whispers "Papa" and leaves as Clara rips something bloody off of him. Maybe. I'm genuinely lost at this point. Cut to the gas station where we find a very bloody Arta wandering the halls. The attendant discovers this mess and shouts at him to get out, but Arta instead asks him for help. He follows the attendant into the back room where we're presented with a rather unexpected twist. Yeah, the attendant is in on it, and I'm surprised it took him this long to drop this detail. Also, I love the fact that they just glued a sparkler to the end of the chainsaw. That is exactly the type of creative, low-budget filmmaking technique that makes my wiggle. Arta manages to lock himself in the toilet as the attendant carves scratches into what I assume is the strongest door ever made. Arta grabs a cleaver and hits the door, causing the attendant to fall back for some reason, then escapes, calling out for the police. He then tries to hide in this locker, but unfortunately his luck, if you want to call it that, has finally run out. The attendant then takes Arta out and dumps him in the back of his truck when this fella turns up.
Hey, Gotti! Du wieder da, hau ab! Gotti! Johnny ist da! Gotti! Gotti! Mach die Lampen aus!
Oh, come on, guys. Let's not start introducing new characters this late in the game, especially it's this annoying. The men head inside and the new guy, Johnny, has the third or fourth sing-song of the movie.
At the station, a real loose pen.
The attendant finally stops him, telling him to just get drunk and burn up, to which the man agrees.
Schauen Sie auf, leg den Deckel hin und schütte mir mit der linken Hand das ganze Gesamt über den Kopf.
I think the last time I said this was all the way back in the August Underground review, but if there's one thing I hate, it's a character that laughs and laughs for no reason at all. Johnny sets his head on fire, which the attendant puts out, then runs into the back room and chops off his hand.
Scheiße!
Cut to Arta waking up? Really? But the check. What? Arta stands up as inside Johnny does the sign of the cross with his bloody stump, then draws the peace sign on the wall in blood. Outside, Arta steals the attendant's car and drives off as he gives chase. Cut to some time later as the family return home with their bounty. They start to unload when Margit goes looking for Clara, finding her and asking her where she's been. Clara tells her the cellar, and when asked what she was doing there, orders Margit to lay down.
mit Ihnen los? So eine Unverschämtheit! Sie sind hier nur zu Gast! Oh. Oh.
Literally exhausting this is. Clara then asks what was in the glass, whapping Margaret's breasticles out as her captor says she is the only reason she's still alive as the others would have killed her. Then they bang!
Kommt! Oh, 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 oh.
I think. Moving on! Cut to the slaughterhouse as Bridget complains about having to listen to Margaret get her ham sandwich absolutely obliterated. Dietrich says it's better than listening to all the reunification talk on the TV, and Alfred reassures her it'll be over soon. Back with Margaret, it looks like Clara's f***ing her with a metal pole which she loves when she picks up the knife. Bridget screams out of the window she's had enough when we see Margaret stumble out of the caravan as the hitchhiker watches on. Alfred shouts at them to be quiet as father is sleeping when we cut closer to see the knife handle sticking out of Margaret's arsehole. That is rough, but never mind that. The bodysuit, or whatever you want to call it, she's wearing has a Batman logo on it. I wonder how much it cost them to be able to use that in the film, and I wonder what the significance is. Anyway, Margaret collapses and the siblings rush down to see what's going on. They then confirm she's dead, pop a mask on her and start beating her head in as Alfred looks in the caravan finding nothing.
Die Frau ist weg!
Die Frau ist weg?
Los, suchen!
I really like that shot. The look on her face, or lack thereof, is very final girl. Cut to Arthur driving, calling out for Clara. He then happens on the family who stop thinking it's the attendant. Bridget gets out and starts to run towards the car, so Arthur runs her over. 2 points here. Number 1, how does he even know they're evil? I don't think Arthur's actually met the family yet. And 2, you actually see the wig fly off the dummy's head when it collides with the car. Nice work. It might sound like I'm being sarcastic, but I actually genuinely enjoy that. Arthur drives away as Dietrich goes to check on Bridget.
Brigitte! Oh, hast du dir wehgetan? Schmerz! Oh Gott, meine Beine!
Good lord. The title card Revenge appears as we cut to the attendant arriving at the scene.
Brigitte, was ist mit dir los?
Bridget finally dies and it seems the attendant blames the siblings as we cut to him interrogating them in a room about their past deeds. Then Bridget is alive again.
Und Johnny! Wessen gibt es das denn?
I don't f***ing know. The truth starts to come out about them all banging each other and the father being dead when the attendant loses it and chainsaws Dietrich's head in half.
In meinen Träumen sehe ich die Toten schärfer als die Lebenden!
Cut to Alfred heaving in the car and telling us everyone is dead and he is all alone. Wait, everyone's dead? What happened to the attendant? He goes to talk to father when Clara wakes up on her favourite filthy mattress. We see the hitchhiker chainsawing meat when Alfred gets back to father and updates him on what's going on. Clara exits the caravan and calls out for Arthur as Alfred continues to lose his mind. Cut to Clara creeping through the building when we see one of the videos from earlier. She tries to call for help, then spots Arthur and rushes outside. Jesus Christ, this woman cannot catch a break. Another chase ensues when she's cornered by Arthur and then saved by the hitchhiker. And then goes running off again. What is your problem, Arthur? And did he just pull off his gore makeup? The hitchhiker says he'll never forgive Clara for that thing about his balls and she runs into the father's room discovering him with his son.
Schau nicht so blöd! Vater geht es nicht gut!
The hitchhiker hilariously says he's going to report Alfred to the police when Clara escapes, getting outside and running for her life. She jumps into the back of a passing truck but is somehow shocked to see Alfred inside with father as the car is being driven by Arthur, now back in full makeup. The hitchhiker shouts everything has an end except for hope. Johnny replies everything has an end except the worst, it has two, as Bridget says thoughts are free, who knows what they will be, and the film mercifully cuts to black. The end! Well, Jesus Christ. I think I need to genuinely lie down after that. What a ride. The German Chainsaw Massacre is a surprisingly enjoyable, if uneven, little splatter movie that manages to have elements of all the things I like about art house horror, but ends up being dragged down by characters that grate on you and choices that make little sense. The story is simple enough, with a woman escaping her past and falling victim to a family of cannibals. Now that's a Texas Chainsaw storyline if I ever heard one. The difference here is the whole thing is being played out against the fall of the Berlin Wall. This factors into the story heavily, with the family being opposed to the reunification of Germany, and this opposition seems to give us insight into the filmmaker's opinion on people who share those views. Could he be suggesting anyone stuck in the old ways is an incestuous cannibal, feeding on and f***ing itself into oblivion? Maybe. Other than that added flavour, it really is just a chainsaw movie where most of the time the final girl's choices are dumb and her boyfriend is immortal for seemingly no reason at all. In terms of the characters, we get an eclectic bunch here, with each family member standing out as their own individual brand of nutter. Their quirky behaviour, especially Margit's, is enjoyable at first, but as the film goes on it quickly becomes tiresome, with them mostly just screaming at each other and running around. Also, for all the obvious inspiration from TCM, we don't actually get a central slasher like Leatherface. In the breakdown I said I thought that guy outside the gas station earlier on was going to be the movie's version, but then he's never seen again. I guess that was probably the hitchhiker, and I know the filmmaker wasn't making a one-to-one copy, but I really could have done with some in a mask running around with a chainsaw. Onto the gore, and they really gave it a go, didn't they? None of it was convincing, but given the budget they tried their best. I especially appreciated the way anyone who had their head destroyed had to have the mask put on them first to hide the fake head. Also have to give another shout out to the dummy that got run over. I feel like they knew they couldn't achieve realistic gore, so leaned into how janky it looked, and that on its own is pretty funny to me. Production-wise, I love the way this movie started out with the weird cuts to those art housey shots when someone was attacked. I was hoping we'd get more of that creative visual flair throughout, but after Arthur gets his head caved in, that just sort of disappears. From then on, we return to a more traditional style, and while the filmmaker does well to replicate the grimy TCM aesthetic, I'm sad the film started out a lot more interesting. In the end, the German Chainsaw Massacre is a pleasant surprise that I thought was just going to be a version of the films that came before. Instead, it carves out its own identity to begin with, before kind of becoming a version of the films that came before. I really appreciated the attempts at gore and the political subtext, even if by the end of the movie it isn't quite as enjoyable as it was at the start. This is another one I'd recommend to see with friends with a few drinks, or just stick on a projector at this year's Halloween party. It's stupid fun for all the cannibal family. So that was my review of the German Chainsaw Massacre. What do you lot think? I was genuinely surprised by this, as what I thought I was getting was a shitty remake, but instead got a movie full of artistic value, comedy and rich subtext, as well as terrible effects, which is my bread and butter. That being said, they weren't all bad, my favourite being Bridget's lower half getting turned into mincemeat. Speaking of which, if you want to see Arthur get ripped apart, completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, the Discord, and actual commentaries coming soon. I'm getting my boy Jacob Lewis in to do a commentary with me, the first one being for, of course, Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, and please do. I'm actually saving up right now to go on a mini podcast tour in America in May. I can't talk about every podcast I'm going to be on, but one of them is of course going to be Zach Amico's Midnight Spook Show. Also, does anybody know about any horror podcasts that are based in Texas? Let me know. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and this isn't a joke. I really mean this. I want to make an anthology film where all of the short films are just different chainsaw massacres from different countries, all utilizing their country's culture and then pumping it into a family that kill people with chainsaws. I think that'd be sick. Let me know in the comments what country you'd like to see most have a chainsaw massacre. You guzzling